Morning, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Tom,
Hello.
Dao, Tamtan.
There's Ajahn.
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 Bodhika.
Shall we begin?
Yes, does anyone have anything they would like to start with? May, for anyone? To Dao?
Ajahn, I'd like to ask a question around right effort, because we talk a lot about there being no self that can try to understand. And so I wonder if you would just say something about how we can best understand right effort as being part of the Eightfold Path.
Before thinking about right effort, we have to understand what effort is. Is it I, or just a reality which arises and performing its function as effort? And Buddha taught about how many cittas arise with effort, or virya in Pali. See, how many cittas does not arise with effort beyond our thinking or imagination at all, because no understanding of what is there now, whether there is effort or not, at just a moment, this moment and that moment, and what moment has effort arising with it, or what citta doesn't have effort with it at all. To understand it as not me and no one, all by conditions. For example, seeing right now, who knows whether there is effort or not? And just few moments after seeing, who knows that there is effort or not? But in daily life, is there any time that there can be moment of thinking about that moment, as we have to have effort to do, to try this and that? We just know just very little about effort, as when it's strong enough. Like attachment right now, who knows that it's there already, but only when it's strong enough, it can be known. The same as effort or any reality. When it's not as strong enough, it's not known. Only thinking about the truth, whether what is that very moment, whether there is effort or not, why not, and why it is, by conditions. So effort is just a reality, a cetasika. And Buddha taught about how many cittas arise with effort, or effort arise with what moment in life. For example, at moment of seeing, no need to have effort, because karma conditions such a moment just to arise and see. Only a moment. Citta before seeing cannot see by conditions. Karma does not produce the citta to experience the object, because it just begins to know what is there at the Dvara or the doorway, Chakku or Sota and so on. But just a moment after that moment, there is moment of seeing. Only one single moment arises just to see. Only that, performing the function of seeing. No need to have effort. See, by conditions. That's why we learn to understand before having such confidence of the truth, that what can be I, effort arises sometimes by conditions, and it's gone completely, never to return. So can it be I all the time, like from birth up to now? Impossible. That's why to let go the wrong understanding, the clinging to that which appears, with ignorance. It takes quite a long time, eons and eons, to be so truthful to this very moment, to understand clearer and clearer, little by little, that what is there cannot be taken for self, even effort. It's there sometimes, not all the time. Who knows? So is there effort right now? Without the teachings of the Buddha about each moment of citta, it's impossible to say whether it's there or not. But it's there because it's not a seeing. And Buddha pointed out how many citta doesn't arise with effort. 16, citta without hetu. We learn a little bit about whatever is there because it arises and falls very rapidly by conditions. Very, very difficult to pinpoint what is there because what appears is only the nimitta of our reality because they arise and fall away in split seconds all the time, even right now. So how can there be the moment of understanding effort only when it's there? No matter it's attachment, aversion, or whatever, when it's just very subtle, it cannot be known, but it can be understood and developed. The understanding of no one there at all, even right now or any time. Otherwise, there's no way to understand the great wisdom of the enlightenment because everything just arises and falls away so rapidly. What is left is only the mark, the sign of that which arises and falls away at that very moment. That's all.
So, John, can we say that wrong effort is whenever there is that idea of I doing something, trying to understand, trying to whatever, and right understanding is when there is the understanding that what happens is not the result of I, but in fact it's just what naturally occurs.
Because you see that even we don't say out, I am sitting, but from moment of waking up in the morning, what's there? I all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And still I slept, see, even I. That's why the idea of self is there as long as there is no understanding of anything as it is, one by one, before it can be completely eradicated. And it has to be right now, so natural, because it's there already by conditions. No one, for example, seeing, see, who conditioned the eye, that which impinge on it, and the reality which is the chief of experiencing that object which has impinged on the eyebase. And what about other Cetasikas? 7 does not appear. So it's so very, very difficult to understand the truth of that which doesn't show up now because of ignorance. But when there's a little more understanding, no expectation, when will it be completely, absolutely eradicated? But the understanding is there or not of this very moment. Otherwise, no way to experience the truth, because whatever appears arises, but no one experiences the arising and falling away of that single one at all. That's why whatever appears in life seems like they're still there. The house, the fork, the table, and everything, my legs and my arms. But in truth, at this very moment, does any arm appear? Does anything appear? Only the object of seeing is there, because seeing experiences it. But the rapidity of what are there in between each moment of seeing, unknown. And what about that, which condition many, many objects around, not just only one. That's why the truth is so very profound. It's very subtle. It takes time to developing the understanding by hearing and considering the truth. That's all. And right understanding itself understands. That's the way it is. That's why the path leading to realization of the truth, the Ariya Satya, the fourth one, is also so very subtle, because it's now at any moment of understanding, even it's intellectually, but it conditioned, and it will condition the next moment of understanding, on and on. That's why the absolute truth, be truthful to the truth, is how much understanding of what we are hearing about it. For example, seeing right now. That's why the word that is there when one recites the teachings of the Buddha, just Buddha calls us to come to see, because it can be known right now what is there as it is. And it's not far away at all, but no thought about it, because there are conditions to think about other things far away from this very moment, which arises and falls away all the time. And this is the meaning of Khanti Parami, patience, great patience, to develop the understanding of what is there when it appears or shows up, only to that level of understanding. No wrong understanding, no ignorance, because it has developed the understanding of the truth from intellectual understanding into the direct understanding, little by little, so very little, to test how much clinging to the result or just want to try very hard to experience it, all wrong. And that is silapata pramasa, because wrong understanding condition such behavior to try so much, but no understanding of what is there, arising and falling away. Even its nimitta of the arising and falling away, but it's so true that it can be directly experienced, one object at a time, not together. Because when many things are together, it's impossible to understand only one as clear as it is, to let go wrong understanding, taking it for permanent reality or permanent object, permanent being, permanent things. Impossible. That's why the teaching of the Buddha is so very subtle from the very beginning, to go along directly to the truth, Satya Parami, with Adidana Parami, very firm confidence of the truth. No other way, because the development of understanding can be now, whether how much there is the understanding of that, whether it's the direct understanding yet or not, even that can be known by Panya. So Panya understands truly what is there as it is. So many ignorance level of whatever appears. For example, there is feeling right now, unknown is there. There is sanya, remembering what is there, unknown as is there. See, that's why how long it will take to understand what is there in daily life, no matter when and what situation at all. Because Panya can understand the truth, but there are so many different levels of understanding. So right understanding knows what is what, how much understanding of what is there appearing. And how can it be directly known? Not just thinking, but it's there. And the teachings just talk about it when it's there, to know what is really there. For example, visible object. See, who can deny that what is seen is visible? Only that. And where is it? Together with the four primary rupas. Without the four primary rupas, there can never be that which can impinge on the eyes. And this is life, from birth to death, on and on and on. All depends on conditions. And the conditions are citta. Cetasika and Rupa. Conditioned along more and more added attachment, aversion, or ignorance, or wholesomeness. All are conditioned realities, even panya of different degrees. So just talk about effort, learn about what is it, and when does it arise, and how many levels, wrong effort, right effort. Different ones cannot be the same, even its effort, but effort wrongly or rightly, wrong or right.
Ajahn, I think you just said a moment ago about knowing how much is not known, how much is not understood. Do you mean at an intellectual level? I mean, it would seem that it's not too difficult to understand at an intellectual that there's a vast amount that is not known or understood. But were you suggesting a different, that it's possible for a different level of not understanding to be known?
If we don't talk about seeing, hearing, thinking, and that which is not seen, but it's there, how much ignorance is there?
Mm.
Right understanding, understand it. Each moment in life, no understanding of the truth. So how much in life? In a day, in a month, in a year, and in life, years and years ago. And
So
this,
it's actually in
one might think that it's easy to experience the object and have enough understanding. Never at all. When there's no intellectual understanding, very skillful.
And in fact, it's when we come in contact with the Dhamma that is what enables us to have some understanding about how, I suppose, misguided or how much ignorance and wrong view there has been and continues to be. Actually, the Dharma is like, as is often said, I suppose, the light that shines into that darkness of ignorance.
So only right understanding can understand the truth, how much ignorance, when it understands more and more about what is there now, how much ignorance, only right understanding knows. And so it let go all the attachment of craving for results, just to let go the idea of self very easily. It's wrong. Because even that moment is wrong, not understanding the truth.
Thank you, Ajahn.
And Maeve, I think the same question can be asked and the same comments made about the other path factors also. For example, right concentration, right thinking, right awareness, because they're all momentary mental factors that arise by conditions and not things to be separately done or developed by themselves. So as we know, at a moment of right understanding, the other mental factors, the effort, the concentration, the awareness, and the thinking are present. And as Ajahn has explained, they arise by conditions. When they become more highly developed as a whole, then their individual characteristics perhaps become more apparent to the one who is developing the understanding. But for us, because we're all such beginners, the characteristic of a right of effort as such, which arises, as Ajahn says, now all the time with kusala jittas, with akusala jittas, with vipaka jittas also, except for certain ones, does not appear. And so it's, in a sense, too early for us to be thinking about the development of right effort as such, because mental factors can only be developed if and when they appear and are the object of awareness and understanding. And so even awareness itself, does it appear when there are moments of awareness? And we may find that there has been some development of awareness and understanding over the years or the decades, as the case may be, but without it being apparent the precise moments at which that development has been occurring. So it's helpful to appreciate and to consider the importance of thinking of them as momentary mental factors rather than as qualities which can often by themselves be developed independently of the other mental factors that arise together.
Yes, thank you, Jonathan. You've also reminded me about how easy it is to be motivated in asking the kind of question that I did about what is the antidote to trying? Oh, it must be right effort. Thanks, Jonathan.
And in the text, when we read about the details of the mental factors of effort or concentration or vitaka, concentration rising with every citta, vitaka and virya with most cittas, when we read about its function, its characteristic, its proximate cause, the cittas it arises with, and so on, it's all exactly the same for right or wrong effort, right or wrong concentration. The only difference is that when it's right, it arises with kusala cittas, and when it's right effort of the path, has to be with right understanding of realities. So if there is no understanding of reality now, it can never be known whether the virya is right or wrong. And most of what is taken for being making a good effort or right effort, mostly it's wrong effort, because it is motivated by the idea of I doing something. So as soon as I is involved, for sure it is wrong effort, like following a method or practice or doing something to develop awareness has to be wrong from the very beginning onwards. Or trying to attend to an object, any effort, any attempt that conventionally we will call making an effort will be akusala for sure. So I think that's why Ajahn is stressing that there has to be the understanding of when it arises, how it arises with almost every citta in the day, and how it therefore has to arise with kusala, akusala, vipaka, and kiriya cittas too, and how it is conditioned, no matter it's wrong or right, kusala or akusala, it's conditioned and it's anatta, and only understanding can understand when it is the wholesome virya as opposed to the usual unwholesome virya. Like at moments of metta, the virya is there. No one says, I'm going to have metta, but at a moment of kindness or friendliness, wholesome virya is there at that moment. Or at moments of understanding, even intellectually, wise reflection. No one is going to say, oh, when I'm in the bathroom, there'll be wise reflection. But when wise reflection arises, right effort is there at those moments, kusala effort. So it arises by conditions with all kinds of kusala chitas, but not by any prompting or trying or being motivated at all.
And the idea of wholesome and unwholesome, I suppose, goes to the usefulness of those, either of those, the usefulness or non-usefulness, in terms of developing understanding. So anything that is wholesome is useful in terms of the development of understanding, and all the rest in which we are immersed are just not useful.
And even when it's wholesome, when there's no understanding, then it may or may not be a condition for any understanding in future. Like someone may naturally have a tendency or accumulations to be very generous, show a lot of generosity, but it's all with the idea that it's my generosity, my giving. So without any understanding, the quality cannot be known and cannot be developed or purified. So that's why the understanding is the forerunner.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah and Jonathan, and Ajahn, of course. Thank you.
Glad to hear your points and comments, Maeve.
Good morning, Sarah. I have a question.
Hi, Tam Tan. How are you?
Yep. Good, thank you. So if I'm trying to understanding the meaning of something or the word that I do not understand, so that means I have the wrong effort because I'm trying. Is that right?
If it's the idea of I am doing, I am trying, I am making an effort, then at that moment of thinking, I am doing, I am making an effort, is there any understanding of realities, dhammas, as not self? Or is there taking that trying for being mine?
I guess at that moment, there is no understanding.
So when it's just trying to understand, trying to catch the meaning with the idea that I can try, I can catch the meaning, then at those moments it is not the kusala right effort, because I is the one trying or doing something.
But then again, if I'm not trying, then how can I understand the meaning of the word if I'm not trying?
So in truth, there's no I that can try or understand or do anything. But when considering and reflecting naturally, like now or in the kitchen when cooking or anytime, there may be moments of understanding, wise reflection on the meaning of what has been heard about dhammas. And at those moments of understanding, the wholesome virya, the wholesome effort is there naturally, not by I trying to do something, because it arises with all kusala chitas and all akusala chitas. So when there is understanding, there is wholesome virya, or like the example I gave to Maeve, when there is a moment of kindness, not I am trying to be kind, but one just looks for opportunities to be kind or helpful. At those moments of kindness, the virya must be kusala, but not I am trying to have effort or I am trying to be kind.
And also, Tom, I think the conventional notion of trying can cover a wide variety of different mental states. For example, if one is attending a discussion like this and paying attention to what is being said, that could be described as trying to follow the conversation. But it's not a question of conventional trying must be a kusala or that moment must be a kusala, cannot be kusala. What one needs to consider is that the moments that are wholesome have a certain quality to them, and the moments that are unwholesome have a certain quality to them. And until the understanding of the difference between those two has been developed, it's not really possible to be specific in every situation. We can just say as a general rule that the conventional notion of trying is usually akusala, because most of the day we are trying to do this, trying to do that, had nothing to do with any particular kind of kusala, let alone understanding of present moment realities. So it's best to appreciate we can't generalize too much, and it all depends on the what is conditioning the particular moment of consciousness that we refer to as trying or concentrating or thinking or being aware.
Like now, so many different chittas arising and falling away. Some kusala, some akusala, some vipaka, some kiriya. And who can pinpoint at which moments right now there is kusala effort and akusala effort? And if one would like to pinpoint or try to find out, then that is the self again trying. So for sure, at those moments, it's akusala viriya. So it's not a matter of trying to pinpoint or trying to catch the moments of kusala virya or akusala virya, but beginning to understand a little more when virya arises, when kusala virya arises, akusala virya arises, understanding a little more about its characteristic, and most of all, understanding it's just a Dhamma, anatta, it's gone instantly. By the time one's trying to find out whether it's kusala or akusala virya, countless viryas have arisen and fallen away. It's quite useless.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, let me consider more about that.
Yes, so one can consider how it's a little more subtle, deeper than one thought, quite different from conventional ideas of right and wrong effort. Like one may think, oh, it's right effort when one helps the bird that's suffering by the side of the road, or one takes care of one's friend or mother. But what we learn is that chittas arise and fall away all the time. So we cannot say this situation is kusala or that situation is akusala. It depends on each chitta at each moment, which arises by its conditions and falls away instantly.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I have a question for Achan, and it is we use the words one moment, but actually there are many, many moments in one moment of truth. And I don't understand what that means. Achan, could you explain, please?
Is there any chitta before seeing?
Yes, there is chitta before seeing.
We don't know that it's one moment only, the moment before seeing, see. And are there many moments after seeing?
Many, many moments after seeing, yes.
So how many moments are there in a day, or even right now at the moment of seeing different objects around?
Uncountable.
So what's the question is about?
Well, it was something I wrote down from the discussion, and we use the words one moment, but actually there are many, many moments in one moment of truth. So the last bit I don't quite understand. Many, many moments in one moment of truth.
Okay, it seems like there is a moment of seeing right now.
Yes, Achan.
Without the moment before seeing, unknown, but it's there, right?
Yes, Achan.
So what appears is not every moment as Buddha taught in split seconds.
Right.
That's why there are so many moments unknown. What is known in a day is seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. That's all. But actually, what are moments in between those moments? A lot unknown. That's why we talk about just one moment, split moment in a moment. Like moment of seeing right now. That before, the moment before seeing is not known. The moments after seeing are not known. Sampatichana Santirana Manodavara Vachanafi. And even the very slight akusala, very subtle one, is not known. That's why in a moment we talk about just in a moment, but how many moments, split moments in that moment?
Well, there must be many, Ajahn.
Right. So what we call a moment, see, many moments in between, in split seconds.
Right. Maybe it was just the way it was written, because it just sounded like many, many moments in one moment, and that I didn't understand.
I think you could paraphrase it as saying that what we take for one moment in truth are many, many moments, countless moments. Because we think now there's a moment of seeing, but in truth, there are many, many moments of not just seeing, but all the other cheetahs in between.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ajahn.
Oh, hello, Ajahn and everyone. Can I have a quick question, please?
Leanne, go ahead. Good to see you.
Yeah. My question is about Papasara Citta. So I know that is the Babanga Citta is called Papasara Citta. So my question is there any other Cittas also considered to be Papasara? And when I'm asking this, I'm thinking of the Maha Kiriya Citta of the Arahant. Yeah, that is my question.
Pabasara means luminous. So the Bhavanga cheetahs are said to be Pabasara, luminous or resplendent, and also the Kusala cheetahs or Kusala cheetahs as well, but not the Akusala cheetahs. So when the word Pandara is used, Pandara, which means clear, refers to every cheetah. Every cheetah is Pandara, it's a synonym for cheetah, but Pabasara, or luminous, refers to the Bhavanga cheetahs and Kusala cheetahs. And also in some contexts, Nibbana is said to be Pabasara too.
So does that mean we can say all Citta except the Akusala Citta are Papasara? Can we say that, Sarah?
I don't think we can quite say that because, for example, other Ahetuka cheetahs I haven't seen as being referred to as Pabasara. Usually in the text, it refers to Bhavanga cheetahs and Kusala cheetahs. But perhaps Ajahn has anything more to add on this point.
Is Akusala Papasara?
No, Ajahn.
That's why we
They're
can
not.
understand that Akusala cannot be But when there's no akusala, it is papachara. When we talk about chittas, cetasika, arising together, when it's not akusala, it is papachara. Can we say that?
I'm a bit confused now, Ajahn, because I read that part in the survey of Dhamma. There's only Bhavanga Citta mentioned as Papasara.
Why? Because
Yeah.
akusala can arise with vipaka, and bhavanga is vipaka, the result of kamma. So when it is the result of akusala kamma, there can never be akusala cetasika at all, because akusala cetasika arises with only akusala citta. That's why it's clear that akusala cannot be papasara. So what citta doesn't have akusala, it is papasara. Because akusala cetasika cannot arise with vipaka, akusala vipaka, while the sopana citta and sopana cetasika can arise no matter it is bhavanga or what level of kusala.
Now I'm confused. I
Because
thought I
it
understood.
has to conform with the other. For example, santirana, akusala vipaka, can perform the function of birth, and santirana, kusala vipaka, upekha only, can perform the function of rebirth. No akusala cetasika with it. That's why even that, when it's bhavanga, it is papasara. Because no akusala cetasika arises with the citta.
Okay.
I think that, Leanne, in the text, they say that the reason that only the akusala is not papasara is because it corrupts or taints the citta. But when it's vipaka, even akusala vipaka, because there are no akusala cittas arising, so no akusala cetasikas corrupt the citta. It's just the result of karma, but no akusala factors arise with it.
I'm not sure if I understand it now. Yeah. Okay. I think I will listen to it again and see whether I
know that
get it.
akusala cannot be papasara. So any citta without akusala cetasika must be. But depending on its function too.
Because when I read the explanation in the survey, it mentioned like when, I read the Vietnamese version, it said that, when a being is a deep sleep, there the cittas papasara, as soon as that being is waken up, then there will be experience through one of the 6 sense doors. Then straight away there are like a dislike, and there are kusala and akusala straight away. For that reason, they no longer papasara. So when I read that, I assumed that even of course, akusala is not papasara, but when I read that, I feel like, even kusala is not listed as papasara. But then in the discussion, recent discussion, Tam explained that when a citta arises with Supana Chestasika, then it is a papasara. So when she used the word Supana, I'm thinking it have to be, not just kusala, but it have to be like the citta of an arahant, or something like that, like Maha Kiriya Citta to be considered papasara. So that's why I want to clarify. But then it appeared to me like what I understood is still not correct.
All the wholesome chaitasikas like sati, for example, they are sobana chaitasikas. And the reason we use the word sobana, not just kusala, is because those chaitasikas such as sati, they don't just arise with kusala chitas, but they also arise with kusala vipaka chitas and kiriya chitas of the arahat. So sobana refers to whenever that factor like sati or panya arise. So in the text you read, when it said that after the bhavanga chitas have fallen away, then kusala or akusala chitas arise, it's not referring to the other chitas before that, but as soon as the kusala or akusala chitas arise, even in the jhāvana process, they arise with either akusala chaitasikas or sobana chaitasikas. When they arise with sobana chaitasikas, they are pabasara. But when they arise with akusala chaitasikas, the chitta is corrupted by those akusala factors that arise together with it. So those akusala chitas and chaitasikas are not pabasara.
Yeah, I think I'll leave it here. Thank you, Ajahn and Sarah.
Leanne, I think the example where you read about bhavanga is just to show that it's not akusala. In a day when the moment we wake up, it's almost always akusala. So the example of bhavanga is saying it's when there is no akusala. That can be to give you an idea of what papasara means. It's not saying just bhavanga. It's just saying when you sleep, there's no akusala. Otherwise, after you wake up, there's definitely akusala, right?
Yep. Thank you, Sukin. Yeah, I can say that. I can relate to that now. Like that is an example of a papasara chitta, rather than that is the only papasara chitta. Yeah, I can get it now. Thank you.
Because life is actually a series of bhavanga chitas starting with birth that are interrupted by different sense door, mind door processes. So the continuum of bhavanga chitas are not corrupted, they're pabasara, they're not akusala, but after there are experiences through different doorways, akusala chitas are bound to arise. And so they are no longer pabasara at those moments.
And this is applicable to animals as well, right?
Any stream of chitas in any realm, even in deva realms, arupa brahma realms, only the arahat has no more akusala chitas arising. So for the arahat, no more chitas which are not pabasara, but for beings in all other realms, as soon as akusala chitas arise, then the chitas are no longer pabasara.
Thank you, sir. Can I ask another question? Not related to this.
Go ahead, Leanne.
Yeah. The other day, you explained to Chanti about bodily pain, like how you break it down. Only at the moment of touching a tangible object, then there is only one moment of bodily pain. I understood that. Now, my question is about the rest of the chittas in that process, in that body door process. The rest of the chittas still experiencing the same object. So even though there's no bodily pain there, but the Vedana have to be still experience that unpleasant object.
For example, in the eye door process, in the body door process. So first of all, there is the adverting consciousness, the Panchadwara Vajana Chitta arising, which is a Kiriya Chitta experiencing the hardness or the object of that process with neutral feeling. And it's followed by the moment of body consciousness, which always experiences the object with either pleasant or unpleasant feeling. So it may be very pleasant feeling or maybe very painful feeling at the moment of experiencing the tangible object, such as temperature or hardness. So when it's very hot or very hard, then a painful bodily feeling arises with the chitta. And after that, there are two more vipaka chittas experiencing the object, the sampatichana chitta, which can be kusala or akusala vipaka, let's say akusala vipaka, but not with any painful bodily feeling. And then the santirana chitta, also no painful bodily feeling at that moment. And even if there is unpleasant vedana, but it's not painful bodily feeling. And then kusala or akusala chittas, when the akusala chittas follow, for example, dosa follows, then with the dosa, there is unpleasant feeling, there is domanassa, but it's not painful bodily feeling. It's aversion and unpleasant feeling with the aversion, not the result of karma that experiences that object. But for the anagami or arahat, no unpleasant feeling that will follow at all. And bhavanga chittas, and then through the mind door, thinking again and again about the object with dosa and unpleasant feeling, but it's not any painful bodily feeling at those moments. So that's right, why the painful bodily feeling just arises at that one moment of bodily experience. And so most of what we call pain in a day and what we mind about so much is actually all the unpleasant feeling, the domanassa that arises with dosa towards it because of thinking about it again and again, conditioned by the strong clinging to the body and oneself and the idea of my pain.
But the unpleasant vedana from other chitta experiencing that same unpleasant object, there's no way to be known, right? The unpleasant vedana, like I mentioned just then, there's no way to be known. It doesn't manifest as in any way that can be recognized.
It depends what appears. Like, for example, instantly there may be unpleasant feeling with experiencing that object because of dosa. So there may be an impression, even if it doesn't appear and it isn't known. And then through the mind door, most of what is known as unpleasant feeling is through the mind door, when there's the thinking, first of all, the sign, the shape, the color, the nimitta of that painful bodily experiencing, dwelling on it because of memory, clinging to the story about it, being obsessed with it, thinking that it lasts such a long time. So the unpleasant feeling is more and more apparent. The stronger it is, the more thinking there is with it, the more obsession there is about it, conditioned by the clinging. But it's just a Dhamma. It's not my unpleasant feeling. When there are conditions, it arises. When there's dosa, domanassa has to arise with it again and again and again. But it doesn't last either. It's just a moment and then gone. Each moment of unpleasant feeling is gone instantly. But it's different from the moment of the Vipaka citta, which just experiences the tangible object as a result of karma, the thinking about it and the aversion with it, the unpleasant feeling, is because of the accumulation of thinking with aversion and the accumulation of clinging to my arm, my body, my experience that is so painful. So it can appear, but the most important thing is understanding that whatever arises, whatever appears, is just the Dhamma, not my painful feeling, not my body ache, just different Dhammas that arise and fall away, each one gone instantly. Like now, if there's no unpleasant feeling, then it can't be known because it doesn't appear now.
Thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I've got it.
Perhaps Ajahn
Sarah.
or others have more to.
Sarah, can I please ask you a question through Leanne's question?
Go ahead, Tam.
You have said that the receiving and the investigation consciousness do not have the unpleasant or pleasant feeling. So what are the object of understanding for the receiving and investigation consciousness? They must have the object of understanding, yeah?
They don't have unpleasant bodily feeling, but for example, the Santirana citta, it can be kusala or akusala vipaka arising with neutral feeling, or it can be with pleasant feeling if it's a very desirable object. But they're just two more cittas that are vipaka that don't appear and not apparent and experience exactly the same object.
So I can say their object of understanding is the nimitta of the Vedana?
They arise in the sense door process. So the object they experience is exactly the same object as, for example, the body consciousness, if we're talking about the body door, or if we're talking about the eye door, the visible object. They experience exactly the same visible object as the seeing consciousness. All the cittas in the eye door process, beginning with the adverting consciousness, the seeing, these two vipaka cittas, the kiriya citta that follows, the kusala or akusala cittas that follow that, they all experience exactly the same object, the same visible object, and it's the same through the body door. The tangible object, such as heat or hardness, is experienced by all the cittas in that process.
Yes, and this is the same thing for the Vodana consciousness as well.
Votapana, yes, because it's in the same process. It's just one more citta after the vipaka cittas before the kusala or akusala cittas. It's just one more citta that has to experience the same object in that process. So they all experience the same object.
Yep, thank you. Thank you very much.
John, in the topic that Leanne brought up, I remember now there was quite a bit of confusion in one of the Vietnamese discussions before when we were talking about Pandara and Pabasra. On the topic of Pandara, as we know, every citta is Pandara. It's a synonym for citta. Every citta is clear. And you were stressing that actually when we talk about wholesome and unwholesome cittas, citta itself is not unwholesome, but the cetasikas that arise with it are. So because each citta is Pandara, so as we know, the cetasikas arise with it as by Sahajata, Pachya and other Pachyas, and condition each other and condition the citta. But when we say that the citta itself is not unwholesome, it may be confusing. For example, in the Attasalani, it says that though it is akusala, it's called Pandra because it issues from the source, just like just as a tributary is of the Ganges is like the Ganges and so on. So when you were saying that citta itself is not unwholesome, when it's, even though it's akusala jati, would you add a little more?
Yes, that's the way to understand the distinction between citta and cetasika. Otherwise, they arise together, fall away together, experience the same object. But what's the difference? Nobody can change the characteristic of any reality at all. That's why citta cannot be changed, since it's performed the function of the chief of just experience, the object only. It doesn't like or dislike at all. So its function, whenever it arises, no matter with any kind of cetasika, itself, citta itself, is pandara. And we talk about the akusala cetasikas, kusala cetasika, and on. But they cannot change the characteristic of citta as a chief of experiencing the object. And that's the meaning of pandara. Never be any cetasika, never like or dislike at all. It has its only function just to experience the characteristic of the object clearly. So clear, no matter when we say that I cannot see well, but at that very moment, nobody can change the characteristic of citta, that it experiences the object clearly. So there can be the idea, not well, and so on. Otherwise, it cannot be known as citta. It's never be cetasika at all. Even they arise together. Citta cannot be attachment, or it cannot perform the function of being attached.
However, as someone asked me in a question, it is said that the citta is tainted or corrupted by the cetasikas it arises with, even though it remains as the chief and it is still pandara. But when just like when the Mahabhuta rupas and other rupas arise together, the Mahabhuta rupas condition the visible object to be this way or that way. And the same way, when the cetasikas arise with the citta, they condition each other. The concentration with lobha is different from the concentration with alobha, and the lobha mula citta is different from the alobha mula citta. So they are conditioned together, even though the citta remains as the chief and the reality that is pandara. So I think this is what caused quite a bit of confusion.
But to understand citta better, that it can never be cetasika at all. That's why the understanding of citta as Cittanupassana, even cetasikas arise with it as akusala or kusala. It's not the understanding of any cetasika, but it's the moment of understanding just that which is reality which experience the object only.
Right.
Otherwise, they are mixed.
So it's just the reality that experiences the object, but still the reality. Each citta is different. Seeing is different from hearing. Loba mula citta is different from aloba mula citta. So it's never mixed with the cetasikas. It always has its own characteristic and its own function. But still, each citta is different from each other. I think this is why people were a bit confused.
And in a day, sometimes the akusala cetasika, like attachment, can be known, but not understanding the citta at that moment, because usually in a day, citta does not appear. Because when it appears, it means that there is the understanding of that which now experiences only the object. No like or dislike, but when there's moment of liking, the characteristic of cetasika can be known, but not the characteristic of citta, which experiences that object, which lopa likes.
That's why I think, like, for example, in the Satipatthana Sutta, people misreadily think when they read about Loba Mula Citta or Dosa Mula Citta that there is something about Loba or Dosa understood, but it's not. It's just referring to the citta itself, the nature of that citta. So it's important to understand the distinction.
So very subtle. That's why.
Thank you. Very subtle points and always more and more subtle. Sorry, you were saying that's.
Sarah, what you're saying is that the kusala and akusala chittas are different, but still they don't take on the qualities of the cetasikas, but they're still different, right?
Right. And Jan, when we were having this discussion, she was saying that the citta itself is not wholesome or unwholesome. So we talk about kusala or akusala cittas or cittas which are kusala vipaka or kiriya, but actually it's the cetasikas which are kusala or akusala and have those particular functions, even though each citta is different, and the citta that arises with akusala cetasikas is different from the citta with kusala, but it's actually not the citta itself that's wholesome or unwholesome. It's a very subtle point. And that's what is meant by pandara. So when we read that pandara is a synonym for citta, like mana or hadiya, and one of the synonyms is pandara, that's why one has to consider very carefully what is meant by it.
But when we talk about jati, there are 4 jatis, one of which is kusala, one of which is akusala. And this term suggests to me something that is intrinsic to the citta itself.
So we have to consider whether akusala cetasika, can it change the characteristic of citta? Or when the wholesome cetasika arises with citta, can the wholesome cetasika change the truth, the characteristic of citta?
Well, it changes the characteristic as experienced, but we can consider that it doesn't. If we are talking about citta, sometimes when we talk about citta, we refer to citta only, and sometimes we refer to citta with its accompanying cetasikas. It's just a way of shorthand. So I suppose when we talk
akusala citta, we talk about citta with akusala. With akusala, but citta cannot be akusala by itself.
Right. So when we talk about akusala citta, we mean citta with akusala jetasikas. So
Right.
we're referring to citta and jetasikas together.
Yes.
But the term jati is slightly confusing because jati suggests something that is original and intrinsic. But I suppose, again, we are using the term to refer to citta and jetasikas together as a composite.
And because there's no chitta without cetasika. So in one way, we can say in general that there are four jatis, chitta of four jatis, knowing that, remembering that there's no chitta without cetasikas. But when we talk about the difference between chitta and cetasika, then we say that the wholesome and unwholesomeness is the cetasikas.
Yeah, so we need to be clear when we're talking about citta and jetasikas together as a composite, as it were, or just the citta as one of the four Paramattha Dhammas explained in the Abhidhamma, because there it's citta only and not referring to accompanying jetasikas.
By way of chati, can citta arise alone? That's why cittas are different by cetasikas, which arise with it. But citta is citta and cetasika is cetasika. And since citta arising differently because of cetasika arising with it, that's why when we talk about chati, when we talk about citta, which is chati because of kusala or akusala or kiriya, see? That's why
So,
the difference between citta and cetasika so clear, even talking about by way of chati, it means that even so, citta cannot be changed. But since this citta arises with such and such cetasika, and the other one, that's why citta are quite different by cetasika, which arises with.
so in the Satipatthana Sutta, in the section on Cittanupassana, I think I assume that would be referring to citta and jetasikas together.
That's why, since citta cannot separate from cetasika, they arise together. But it is cittanupassana satipatthana. That's why it has to be clear, the characteristic of citta at that very moment, that the cetasika is not the object of understanding, but only the characteristic of citta alone is the object. So it can be known as it's not cetasika. Even it's there. Akusala citta can be cittanupassana satipatthana, or any kind of citta can be cittanupassana satipatthana, but citta means only the understanding of citta.
If we talk about, for example, awareness of seeing consciousness, which experiences visible object, is that to be understood as the awareness of citta only?
Yes, otherwise it cannot be cittanupassana satipatthana. All kinds of citta can be cittanupassana satipatthana, but it means that understanding only citta as citta. Even there are cetasikas with it.
Because the examples given in the sutta are like citta with attachment, citta with aversion, etc.
Those are just examples. It has to be any citta. And even when we're not referring to jati, like in the example I gave before from the Atasalani, where it's just talking about the nature of citta and the nature of citta as being pandra, and it mentions about the mind that's luminous and corrupted by the corruptions. And it then says, even though akusala, it's pandra, and it gives the reasons, but even then it has to be referring to how it's akusala because it arises with cetasikas, but it's so subtle to appreciate the main points.
Is there any word? Oh, sorry, Sarah, keep going.
Yes, because there it just says that though the citta is akusala, it is pandra. It is clear because it, like the tributary of the Ganges, is clear, but then it gets corrupted as it makes its way into the main river. And in another quote, again in the Atasalani, it says that the citta, when it's kusala, it's known to be pandra by its purity. When it's akusala, because it follows from the bhavanga, and when it is result vipaka by the clearness of the base. So it's a little different the way it refers to the different cittas, as why they are referred to as pandra.
No matter what kind of citta, how many cetasikas arising with it, citta is citta anyway.
Yeah. And every citta is pandra because that's why it's given as a synonym for citta. Go ahead, Anne.
The
Sorry, go ahead, Arjun.
differentiation between citta and cetasika. Otherwise, panya cannot develop because it takes citta and cetasika as one moment.
Right, without understanding the distinction. Like people said in the discussion, understanding the distinction between seeing and the mental factors is a little bit more obvious, but understanding the distinction between the citta, which arises with attachment, and the citta and the other cetasikas is, or especially with akusala cetasikas, it's not so obvious why the citta is pandra. And that's because the nature of the citta isn't known.
I was just going to ask, is there's, well, I guess at this point in the discussion, I'm taking it that there is no, Jitanupassana is, refers to the citta, the understanding of the citta. There is no word then, or no expression that refers to the cetasikas when they are known.
It's just that there we're talking about the object of satipatthana as being citta.
Right.
So when it's the cetasikas, they're included in as dhammas under dhammanupassana.
Okay, thank you.
Or the feelings under vedanupassana. But when it's cittanupassana, it's just the cittas that are being referred to. Any citta.
That makes
Any
sense.
citta that appears.
Okay, thank you.
Jan will correct me if it's not right, but I think it's because of the importance of cittas that they are stressed, because it's the leader, like seeing now the leader in experiencing the visible object, or when attachment arises, citta is still the leader in experiencing the object. So that is why the understanding of citta is stressed and why it has to be understood as distinct from cetasikas.
And if there were no experience of the object, then there would be no cetasikas to accompanying it. There needs to be
Right.
the experiencing of the object before anything else becomes relevant.
Well, they have to arise together, but there has to be the citta as the leader,
Right.
and the
No-
reality that is pure or pandara, that just experiences the object clearly.
Right. And if no Jaitasika is arising, then there'll be no Citta arising either. Yeah. Thank you.
At moment when lopa appears, can there be the understanding of citta?
No. Oh, when it appears? Or there's no, there can't be the understanding of Citta. There would,
Liking appears. Is there any understanding of citta at that very moment?
I'm struggling here with when it appears or when it's understood.
When you
I don't-
like something very much, what is the attachment? Or we
A
can
love.
lopa.
Yeah.
At that
Yeah.
very moment, what can be developed to understand the truth?
Understanding. Panya.
I mean that there is no understanding while lopa is there as usual. But when there is more understanding of the truth little by little, at moment of having lopa of something, what can be object of understanding?
At that moment when the lopa has arisen,
When it appears as I like it, I like this one very much. What can be object of understanding at that very moment?
lopa.
The not citta, right?
Oh, I see. No, that, yes, I see what you're saying. Any understanding of lopa, though, would be in the following citta. Is that not right?
When we,
Go ahead, Ajahn.
when we talk about understanding, it's not just the word, but it's there. For example, right now, citta is there, seeing. No understanding of citta, of that which is seen, as they are different ones. And they cannot be taken for anyone because they are gone instantly. That's why the understanding has to be so precise to let go the idea of self or thing. For example, at moment of liking something, bread or jam or whatever, fruit and so on, what is that which can be known as is not self? That's the meaning of whatever appears, even they are there. For example, at moment of seeing, there are Jitasikas arising with seeing, but they do not appear. So how can there be the understanding of that which appears because it does not appear? Only that which appears. For example, right now, seeing appears. Everyone say, I see, and the object of seeing appears too. It depends on conditions. Sati, anatta, the conditions. Condition moment of beginning to develop the understanding of the truth of just one characteristic at a time. So it depends on that very moment when there's no understanding at all, no time at all to understand the difference between the seeing and the object as no thing and no one. That's why no selection at all, but the understanding of no one beginning to develop, even it's not directly understanding of the characteristic of that object as no self, but the idea enrooted, no one at all, no matter, nothing at all, what is there? See, in a day, to condition more understanding developed to get closer to the truth when it's there. That's why there has to be very clear understanding of the difference between any object, like citta cannot be citasika. And that's why Buddha taught about pandara, no matter it arises with any object, wholesome or unwholesome. Nothing can change the truth of citta, that is there only when it experience an object, and there can be the understanding of that which experiences the object anytime, anywhere, any object. That is the understanding of that which is a chief of experiencing from birth to death. No one knows. That's why the beginning of understanding is to understand the truth, which is so very subtle among citta and even among cetasikas themselves. Vitakka cetasika, sanya cetasika, or feeling and so on. Only when it appears there and there are conditions to be directly developed, the truth of it at moment when it's there. Or in the beginning, it cannot reach that level yet, but it is developing all the time. At moment of no one, it's only seen, it's only that as object of hatred, whatever is there. Developed by itself, that's why it has to be so natural. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of the accumulation of that which conditions such understanding or ignorance, different degrees. That's why to study the word of the teaching that he taught just about that which is there now to be understood. And it is so very subtle, the reality which experiences an object together, citta and cetasika. Even so, there has to be the understanding of citta as citta and cetasika as cetasika. Otherwise, it's me all the time, like, dislike, seeing, hearing, thinking, all there now. And that is the meaning of study, the teachings, the words of the Buddha, because it represents whatever is there now as it is. Seeing is not the object which is seen. It's not like or dislike. It's not right understanding or wrong understanding. Whenever it arises, nothing is there, only the experiencing an object is there. That's why we study the words of the teaching with what is there now to understand the truth that actually there's no one and nothing at all. Just arise by conditions and then fall away instantly. What is left is only the mark of each characteristic. But right understanding has to understand the difference between each one. Otherwise, they are together and they are the idea of self when there's no understanding of the distinction of each one as it is not self. That's why when we learn about the Cittanupassana Satipatthana, not only citta is there, but citta with akusala or kiriya or any moment, there must be other thing with it arising together. But the understanding of citta has to be the understanding of only that which arises and experiences the object.
You've made that distinction very clear. Thank you. That's helpful.
Selection depending on conditions to understand the anotherness of everything, no matter what is there. And only right understanding can let go all akusala, including ignorance, attachment, as a second truth. second noble truth. Now,
I'm sorry, Ajahn, I couldn't hear the first of that. Did you say second noble truth?
here and now.
Yes. Are you saying that in the sense of it can only be known
When it appears,
when it appears here and now? Yes. Yes, no amount of thinking will get you there.
and what appears now, see? It has to be known in order to let go wrong understanding and cling at something permanent.
Yes.
I think the sentence you may have missed, Anne, the first sentence was, Ajahn was saying only right understanding can let go of all the ignorance and attachment as the second noble truth.
Okay, yes, that's it.
So only development of understanding can understand
Yes.
what is meant by citta or cetasika and so on, to let go of the ignorance and attachment, which is the cause of all dukkha. Yeah.
Yes, that's it. Thanks, Sarah.
See, now they all are there, unknown, from moment to moment.
Yeah.
And this is the only way to understand it in order to let go the clinging and ignorant suit. So when we talk about what is there, just to be reminded that the truth is there and understanding is there too, when there is condition for the arising of any level of understanding. Even moment of thinking, it's not there forever. It's gone. Just live by conditions so natural. Otherwise, there cannot be the understanding of anatta, sunyata. And this is the core of the teachings of the truth. And the truth is that on when we think about future, one day, but it's now the absolute truth. Nothing is there. Just arise and fall away by conditions. Unexpectedly, anatta pop up. But right understanding is not strong enough to understand the truth at that very moment. But it develops little by little. At moment of having confidence of the truth that it's there now. Each word concerns the truth of this moment.
Azita, may I ask you a question? It's in relation to your question earlier, and you were asking Ajahn about which is the moment of truth, and I'm just reminded of that again by what Ajahn has just said, and I thought that you were asking about in that stream of citta rising and falling away, which is the moment of truth. Now, I may not have interpreted that correctly, but Was it something around that you were asking?
Well, hello, Maeve. I actually wasn't sure of what, because that's why I was asking the question. I didn't really understand the many, many moments in one moment of truth. Because I thought, well, one moment is just one moment. So how come there's many, many moments? But it has been clarified that when there's seeing, it's just seeing, but really there's many, many moments in this moment of seeing, because there's not, I understand there's just not enough sati and panya to know that one moment. So what we think of as just a moment of seeing has many other jittas involved, like Achan was saying, the one before seeing, the jittas following that seeing. So many moments of reality.
Okay. What do you see now?
Well, this visible object.
Really? Because in truth, I see many things around, not just only one tiny visible object. Is that right?
Yes, you're right, because as I said, visible object, I'm actually looking out my window at trees and bees and birds and many, many things I've done.
When you are asked, what do you see now? Now means one moment. So many things. That's why there are split seconds moment too. Experiencing whatever is seen before it can appear as flowers or window or whatever is there.
Right, yes. Yes, that's just clear. Is that for you, May? Does that?
Yes, because it is like when Ajahn speaks about a moment of truth, it's actually that moment. I'm assuming that moment when of direct experience, when panya, the object of panya is a reality that is known as a reality, that all the other moments are part of the process, but the moment of truth has to be that direct experience, which is why it's so hard for us to talk about that, because until it is known, we can only theorize about it, talk about it intellectually.
It's like this, Maeve.
Yes.
We know that one moment of reality cannot, it's too fast, it's too short, cannot be experienced. So what we call visible object or seeing or hearing or sound is actually the nimitta of those realities. So being the nimitta, it means that it's many moments. It's many moments of seeing, many moments of hearing, many moments of sound, maybe many moments of visible object. That's the object of understanding or not understanding, or even ignorance. I mean, when there's attachment, it's not just one moment, it's many moments of attachment to taste or to whatever. But we know from Abhidhamma that, and the logic is that since many moments means that it's not just one chitta or chetasika, it's many. So although we say it's visible object or hearing or seeing, it's actually many chittas, many moments of seeing. And it's not just that. From the what we heard in the Abhidhamma, we know that between two moments of seeing, there's so many other chittas. So in fact, it's not just one moment. What we say seeing is many in reality, many, many chittas, millions of chittas.
So what in fact is meant by the truth in that context.
So seeing, for example, if seeing is the object, is right now they're seeing, it can be understood or not understood. We know even with ignorance, we say that there is seeing, right? It would be correct to say that they're seeing right now, or hearing, or thinking. So that's the truth then, whether understood or not understood, that's the truth. But even then, it's not just one moment, it's many chittas.
Mhm. Mm.
I think John was just highlighting the fact that when understanding is developing for us, as you can explain, when there's awareness of a reality, it's awareness of many, many moments of that reality, because the panya is not highly developed. Obviously, the reality is always just one moment at a time. But that kind of piercing level of understanding is beyond us in this lifetime. So that any truth that is known, experienced for us will be many moments, not a single moment.
Mhm. Mm. Thank you.
So I think maybe that truth, that one moment, is inferred by having learned what we have, and that there is seeing, and we see objects, but as it's been mentioned here, there's many moments of seeing. So yeah, like John has said, that it's just that panya that knows one reality is so acute that I think it's Buddha realm.
Or even Azita, if we're asked, is there seeing now? And we understand or not understand, we agree that there is seeing now. In fact, it's not just one moment of seeing, it's many moments of seeing, and in between other kinds of chittas.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Mm. 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 Thank you, Azita. A good question.
And now, right understanding is developing to understand the word, what Buddha said, like Rupa Nimitta, Vedana Nimitta, Sanya Nimitta, Sankhara Nimitta, and Vijnana Nimitta, all nimittas, whatever arises so very rapidly. So what can be known or appear is only the nimitta of a reality, one reality at a time. So it's not known yet. That's why understanding what is meant by the development of understanding of the truth to realize the truth. Even so, it's only nimitta of the truth, no matter what arises and falls away, and understanding that which does not arise only has no nimitta, and that is nibbana only. When it does not arise, how can there be nimitta of that? Impossible. But now, whatever appears, it's only the nimitta of so many things unknown in between too. A moment of citta and a moment of seeing, and the other moment of seeing are quite apart by processes of arising and falling away of citta and cittasikas. No one there at all. So anatta, no one and no thing, can condition more wholesomeness, because actually one clings to what is not there anymore at all. and live by conditions to understand the truth, the best thing in life, not to be blind as usual. The truth is so true, and the best thing in life is understanding the truth of whatever is there. Better than no understanding at all. And right understanding develops in its own way. No one there. Patience and virya and satya and adidana. Without all these wholesomeness to understand the truth, no way to understand the truth, which now is as Buddha has enlightened. And one day there can be a moment of directly understand the characteristic of what is there appearing as no one and nothing at all. Little by little, to let go the shape and form and nimitta of everything, that actually the truth is no more there. Only the nimitta of that can appear.
And can you say something about letting go of the shape and form? You just said a moment ago.
That's why we talk about what is seen again and again and again, to condition moment of understanding that actually what is seen is only the nimitta of that which arises and falls away all the time, only that, no more. Thinking about that which can impinge on the eye base, that solidity or other reality cannot impinge on it, all by conditions in a moment and then gone, conditioned in a moment to arise to be there and then gone. And ignorance takes it for something permanent because it appears as like something, as it is something. But in truth, what is seen? That which is seen can be seen. Without seeing, it cannot appear as anything at all. No word of sight, no word of things from thinking about that which is seen. And this is life, true life, real life, every moment. Have confidence of the truth little by little, and that it can condition moment of understanding by itself, by conditions, what is there. So very, very subtle and very, very fast. So it appears naturally, no one knows in daily life. Just a short moment between the currents of ignorance. Nothing to be done. It's there before the idea I will do or I can do. It's there already, whatever is there by conditions, even right now. No one can stop the arising of reality conditioned by many conditions. So, am I good? No one.
That's a good question, Achan. You said, so am I good? When I first started to hear the Dhamma, I was quite excited and thought, I'm going to be a better person. However, to this day, it feels like there's probably less good feeling and more maybe dosa, or maybe I notice it more because I feel less inclined to go looking for fun things to do. So I'm left with azita and boredom. And so in answer to your question, no, I'm not good.
To know oneself is the best thing because no one can take away the ignorance and attachment and wrong understanding from anyone at all. They are there by conditions. They are less by condition. They are not there anymore by conditions. And what is the condition? The main one is right understanding, the truth.
And I think it's just based on clinging to the idea of me, myself, mine. That's what I think.
That's why we learn about the truth, to consider the truth, whether it's so true or not. That it's not there anymore. Yesterday or just a moment ago, were there. No, never be the same. No one can stop the way Chitta and Jaitasika conditioned to arise by Nandrapajya. Just live to understand the truth. It's the best thing.
And azita, while one thinks of, am I good? Am I bad? Am I this or that? It means one also thinks of others. Is Ajahn good or bad? Or is this person this way or that way? Or is he patient or not patient? It's again, it's just not the understanding of dhammas at all. Not the letting go of the ignorance and clinging at those moments of taking what is experienced for something and someone all the time, clinging to this person as the good one and not that one as the bad one, and so on. It's not understanding anything about different realities.
There was conviction point.
So Azita, it doesn't matter then, bored or lots of fun, it's just dhammas.
Thank you, Sukin. Yes, you're right. I intellectually, I know that. It's interesting seeing the progress of what's happening. I also read, just briefly, in the Anguttara Nikaya, I'll get the... It was a short passage on lengthy wandering, and it referred to somebody who was forever moving around. And in the last 20 years, I've probably moved 13 or 14 times. So I consider that fairly lengthy wandering. And it said, one who engages in lengthy and unsettled wandering one does not achieve what one has not yet achieved. One falls from what one has already achieved. One is timid about some things one has achieved. One contracts a severe illness, thankfully not yet, and one has no friends. Well, I can see what the Buddha's talking about there. And I know it's momentary stuff, but I can relate just to what that little sutta is talking about.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the conventional idea of wandering, like some of the Buddha's followers always were moving around, wandering to different villages to teach the Dhamma. Others lived in the forest. So the wandering, the akusala wandering, is the nature of citta, wandering from this object to that object with uddacca and other akusala factors.
Well, I sort of understood that. Yes, I realize a lot of the Buddhist words is about the moment. And yes, it seems like a big story, but yeah, the wandering around in thinking and
at this moment.
It just wanders, you know.
Just thinking with lobha, thinking with delusion.
It'd be good to have a switch.
Disturbance.
Yes. Yes.
And I think whether it's in that same sutta or another one, it talks about the benefits also of wandering. So one doesn't acquire so many possessions and this sort of thing. So it all comes down to the quality of the mental state, doesn't it?
Yes, and that also is the very following one. It just says residing too long. And all the things, you collect too much stuff. It's very hard to leave. You've got lots of friends and then you have to leave them. So it's really, they're really good little suttas.
Yeah, but as Sarah said, it's not about the conventional situation. It's about realities. When we get lost in the story about situations, and I think that can be very misleading.
Well, it is, as Sarah mentioned, it's about kusala and akusala, really.
One can be surrounded by possessions with kusala cittas or akusala cittas. One can be moving house with kusala or akusala any moment, any time. It always has to come back to life now. Otherwise, one's lost in the trap and thinking about the place and the time and the situation rather than understanding anything about dhammas.
And Azita, I'm reminded that Ajahn has told us to enjoy our lives.
As efficient.
Sorry, Ajahn, I didn't hear you.
As it's conditioned.
Yes.
Because if there's no conditions for enjoyment, then one can't make one be happy.
No one can stop moment of enjoyment, but there can be the understanding of that very moment too. When time comes to understand the truth, what is there? Otherwise, no understanding of what is there in life at all, from birth to death. But even at moment of enjoyment, very pleasant feeling, it can be known as it is. No I who would like to stop and who want to enjoy more, but by conditions. There are different realities by conditions at a time only, and no more, then gone completely, never to arise again. Just live in the world of arising and falling away, no one and nothing. From life to life, unrest.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you for your wise words. Thank you.
สวัสดีค่ะ
Sawadee.
Thank you.
Sawadee
Thank you
krap,
very
Ajahn.
much.
Thank you very much, Ajahn.
Thank you, everyone.